Good morning, students. I'm here today with another slideshow for you to explain the uses of punctuation marks in sentences. So let us not waste our time. Let us go on to from the beginning. So the first one is apostrophe that shows contractions. Let us see. So apostrophes are the most commonly misused punctuation marks. They have three main uses. So the first one that apostrophes show contractions. The second one it shows possession. The third one it shows unusual plurals. Okay, let us move on to contractions are shortened forms of words which have letters missing. The apostrophe is used in place of the missing letters. For example, it's is the short form of it is. So will is the short form of we will or we shall. So can't is short for cannot. So here are some other examples that contractions should be avoided in formal writing, though such as in essays and letters, they sound too chatty. However, some writers use them when they write down the direct speech of a character or person. So in formal writing, we should avoid contractions. So the use of apostrophes normally. The second one, apostrophe to show possession. So you look at this example. This is Max's book, means this book belongs to Max. So this is possession. The book is in the possession of Max. Okay, adding an apostrophe and an s after a person, place, or thing shows that he or she it are the owner of the other noun in the sentence. Here are some more examples that you see. Megan's pet tarantula is called Mug. So here Megan's, the use of apostrophe means the tarantula belongs to Megan. So the name of the tarantula is Mug. So Mug's owner is called Megan. Here Mug's, so the owner of Mug's. So you can replace the construction using preposition of. So the owner of Mug in that sense. So all of the bus's seats are full. So here the seats that belong to the bus. So the seats of the bus. To show possession, we normally add an apostrophe and an s after the word. So we don't add the extra s. However, if the word is a plural noun, because it already ends in an s, it would become too difficult for us to pronounce. For example, the toilets and dryers are broken. So we shouldn't use that s, extra s here. So as the noun itself is plural, we normally just use the apostrophe immediately after the plural s. So the same example, 2 weeks. So weeks, we do not use that extra s here. So again, those plants, so we do not use the extra s here. Some pronouns that are already plural already shows possession, not plural. So you may be confused with it. So here, please don't mean these pronouns to be these. So these already express possession, not the plural or anything else. So do not use apostrophe in this case. So here are some examples using those possessive pronouns. You can look at the sentences. So sometimes we normally use apostrophe to mean plural, but in some other cases we use apostrophe in case of unusual plurals. Say like there is one C and two S in the word necessary. Here apostrophe S has been used to mean more than one S. So here more than one seven, so continental sevens. Here more than one P, so P's and Q's. We have commonly heard a sentence, so dot your I's and cut your T's. So that is also another example of these unusual plurals using apostrophe. Let us not waste our time with the activity here. Move on to the next. This is a colon. Sign of colon looks like this. So two dots, one below the another. So colon shows that the words which follow it are an explanation or an example of what is written before it. For example, a hamburger is made up of 3 layers. So this colon means the examples or name of those or particulars of those 3 layers. So the first one, the bottom half of the bun, the middle is the burger, and the last one is the top half of the bun. So this colon exemplifies the 3 layers here. So a colon is usually placed after a complete sentence, but it can be followed by many of a few words. For example, the environment is facing a huge threat. So what is the threat? The answer, the colon gives the example. This is global warming. So colons are placed directly after the last word or the main idea, and they are followed by one space only. They are never followed by either a hyphen or a dash. So here are some more examples of the use of colons. We'll see those. A semicolon looks like this. At the upper place there is a dot, and the lower place, below it, below the dot, there is a comma. So it is named a semicolon. So it joins two complete sentences into one. This is because some sentences are too closely related to be separated by a full stop, but they are missing a connecting word such as and or but. For example, eating chocolate in moderation is fine. We could use but here, but eating chocolate to excess is bad. So omitting that conjunction but, we're using semicolons because these two sentences are too closely connected to be separated. The semicolon joins the separate statement about chocolate into one. Okay, you see the explanation below. It suggests that the first event is related to the second event. So the first sentence, the first event, the first occurrence is certainly related to the second one. In that case, we can use only semicolons. Here are some other examples. You can look at the examples and understand how it is used, how the colon is used. Colons and semicolons are good to use in your writing as they are stylish. They can change the meanings of the sentence of the same set of words. So let's see the first one. Using a full stop separates the events into unrelated events. So Lay happens to be happy and Max happens to be sad. So these two sentences are unrelated. As they are unrelated, we can use a full stop, omitting this conjunction and. So using a colon changes the two events into one event with an explanation. Say, Lay is happy because Max is sad. So you can say the colon can be used here to make the two sentences related one. So Lay's happiness is due to the sadness of Max. So it may mean like that. The semicolon links the two events. Lay therefore may be happy that Max is sad. So there is some kind of connection if used with colon. Okay, brackets are part of punctuation marks. So there are three types of brackets, you know. The first one is first bracket. We know it by round brackets or round brackets. So you see the first bracket. So I am not detailing it. Okay, see the uses of first brackets. Okay, in the first sentence here, in the second sentence here, in the third sentence here, in the fourth one here, in the fifth sentence, just here. Okay, now the use of a dash. So, see the examples. Pairs of dashes allow writers to strongly interrupt the flow of a sentence to provide their readers with useful information. For example, the countess glared at the maid. So the example, explanation or information which is not needed necessarily in the sentence. So, but for the reader, if wants details, then needed. So, who had stolen the heart of her husband? So, this part can be separated with the use of pairs of dashes. And threw a silver hairbrush at her. So, the extra information can either be omitted or used with dashes. So, you can look at the sentences below and use pairs of dashes in between them to mean that the parts that have been separated with the pairs of dashes add extra information to the existing sentences. So in the first sentence, just here and here. In the second one, here and here. Third one, just here and here. In the fourth one, here, over and over here. In the last one, after baby and after pounds. So now we are at the most vital one, comma. So sometimes we want to add information to make our writing clearer without distracting the reader from the sentence. For example, John, who hated cola, bought a lemonade in the cafe. So this comma and this comma, these two words, separate who hated cola, this part from the sentence. So the writer may not read this part, but continually go to this one just after John. So John bought a lemonade in the cafe. In the meantime, the writer could look at this part and know the meaning. So know the explanation, know the information. So he is not detached from the context of the sentence. So this is extra information or extra details. So here are some examples of use of comma in that way. So Mexico, assumed by many. So this part, in the first sentence you use comma here and here. In the second one, over here and just after people. In the third one, here and here. In the fourth one, after bulls and after clock. In the last one, after tomato and after fruit. Okay, speech marks or quotation marks or inverted commas. So to report direct speech, the exact words that a person or character has spoken aloud. So you must use speech marks in that case. Speech marks look like this, or sometimes in detailed writing or narrative writing like this, single. So speech marks surround the words or direct speech to show that those words are different from the rest of the writing. John turned to Jane and said. So at the beginning of the speech mark, we normally use a comma, then give a space. So it's one space. Then begin the quotation mark or speech marks or inverted commas. Then the sentence. You should also mark that the first letter of the speech is also capitalized. This is I'm using a different type of font in which this is the capital one. So this is capital, and then we use full stop or exclamation marks or interrogation marks before we use quotation marks. So it is before this one. So first we give the dot or full stop, then the quotation mark ends the sentence. So if the direct speech forms a complete sentence, it must start with a capital letter. So this is a capital one, as I have already said. So if the speech is only part of a sentence, it must start in lowercase and finish with a comma. So inside the speech marks like this. So it's a part of a sentence. John turned to Jane and said, sorry. So a comma here, then again a comma here. Looking uncomfortable. So the sentence doesn't end here. The sentence ends here. If the sentence ended here, we would use the full stop here and use the S in capital form. So it is also possible to interrupt a speech so that you can add a description about the speech or speaker. Like this. So John turned to Jane and said, you love me, looking uncomfortable, but I can't marry you. So the first one, this is a comma, then a capital letter, then a comma here. So then the quotation ends. So looking uncomfortable, but so here the again comma and the ending full stop is here. Commas are used to introduce each part of the direct speech. The full stop only comes at the very end once the sentence is complete. So you mark the use. Direct speeches only begin with capital letters if they form complete sentences. If they begin with proper nouns or pronoun I, or they start a sentence like this. So I think, so in the beginning part, the quotation marks first, then the capital letter, then a comma. Then the quotation mark ends, then said Jane, then the person who is saying, so looking murderous. Again comma, another sentence said by the same person. So you shouldn't capitalize this one as it is already in the part of the sentence. So full stop here, then finally the quotation marks. So look at the examples below now. We're going to change the sentences using the speech marks so that they give the correct meaning. So let's start using quotation marks. In the first one, just here, so a comma is here, so quotation begins here and ends here. Mark that the note of interrogation is within the quotation marks. In the second one, so quotation here and here, so remember that this comma is before this quotation mark, this comma is also before this quotation marks. In the third sentence, this comma is before quotation mark, this comma is also before quotation marks. So here also this comma is before this and this full stop is inside the quotation marks. In the fourth one, you see this comma should be before this quotation mark and this full stop is also before the quotation marks. So in the fifth one, you see this comma should be before this quotation marks and this comma should also be before the quotation marks. So we are at the ending part of the presentation. Let us sum up the points we have understood here. The first one, apostrophes are used to represent the missing letters in contractions, like this, and to show possession. The second, colons help you to provide an explanation or example in one sentence. And semicolons link to complete sentences to imply cause and effect. Brackets, dashes, and pairs of commas all add extra information to sentences. Their content is handy to know, but is not vital, can be avoided. So the last, wrap speech marks around direct speech. So we have learned these points today. Thank you very much. Allah Hafiz, all of you.